right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. If this is your first time hanging out with us, we are all about bringing science, exploration, adventure, and conservation live into classrooms across North America and around the world. We have a crazy busy December coming up before the holidays, so visit exploringbytheseat.com if you want to find all the live classroom action and how you can register in different ways for your classrooms. So last month, we finished a really cool series called Can You Dig It? Digging into our past. We were talking to archaeologists and geologists and paleontologists, telling us all the cool stories of the stuff they do in the field and how they bring that to life for us to check out and see what these past things look like, whether it's about our planet or the life that was on it or our cultures. We had a really cool event with a good friend of mine that we had to push back a couple of days. So we're extending this into December just a tiny little bit because it's such a cool theme. We don't want to leave anything out. And that cool friend is Andrés Ruzo. He is a geoscientist. He's a conservationist, an author, a science communicator, and educator who became the first scientist granted permission to study the boiling river of the Amazon in Peru in 2011. He's a tri-citizen. He grew up between Peru, Nicaragua, and the United States, and he has projects going on in all of those countries. But his primary focus is geoscientific stuff like volcanology, geothermal studies, trying to understand how these systems can be better studied, both academically for conservation purposes and geothermal energy exploration. That's a lot. So let's get Andres in here right now, and he can tell us a little bit about that. Hey, Andres, how we doing?
Hey, guys. I'm so happy to be here. Sorry for the wait. I literally got stuck in the jungle last week, so I was not able to connect.
Not a big deal at all. A couple extra days just meant more classrooms could register. So It's going to be a good time.
All right. Well, I can't wait. You tell me what to do, and I will make it happen.
All right. Well, quick shout out to classrooms on YouTube. Don't be shy to use the chat sidebar. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Get your questions ready. We've got a ton of backstage classrooms who we met before the show, so we're going to hang out with them soon. But why don't you take over for a little bit before we get into some Q&A action?
Excellent. All right. So hit the present button, right?
You're already sharing. So if you just bring the presentation to the front to go full screen.
All right. There we go. All right. Can you see everything? The presentation's looking good.
Looks good.
All right. Let's launch in. Well, I'm Andres, and I am a geothermal scientist. And today we're going to talk about truly my favorite place on Earth, and this is the boiling river of the Amazon. It is one of the most spectacular places ever, and I deeply hope that all of you get the chance to visit it one day. Like I said, I'm a geothermal scientist. What's that mean? Well, geo means Earth, thermal, heat. So anything that has to do with Earth's heat, think the volcanoes, the hot springs, right? The beating heart of the Earth, it keeps everything moving. I personally feel that I could connect just about anything you ever wanted to connect back to Earth's heat, because, I think it's that important. But we can get into that later. You can look at geothermal from an energy and resources side. Volcanoes harnessing their heat energy to create clean electrical energy, right? Turning the lights on. You can use it for heating and cooling. You can use it for all sorts of things. But conservation, sustainability, that's what I love about geothermal. But there's so much more than that, too. Because if you look at that little pool right there, that's in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. And believe it or not, all of modern biotech is ultimately thanks to, I would argue, geothermal and extremophile ecosystems. Ecosystems where you and I would cook, would die, would be uncomfortable. That little thing that maybe it looks like a furry sausage, maybe it looks like a little finger, is actually a microbe. It's called Thermus aquaticus. And it lives in the hot springs of Yellowstone. And this is one example. Thanks to protecting Yellowstone, scientists were able to study the microbes. By studying the microbes, we were able to figure out that, hey, these guys give us biotechnology, like the PCR tests, if you remember that for COVID, the genetic copy machine, and a whole bunch of other things that give us modern life, modern medicine, you name it. So I look at the environments, the earth, the rock, the water, life, energy, potential, stories, the culture, all of the above, because ultimately geothermal systems are so important. Right? These hot spring systems are so important to us that some people think humans, bathing and cleanliness might be associated with our ancestors using hot springs. For example, you might go home, hopefully you'll go home today and take a hot bath or a hot shower. You're ultimately creating an artificial geothermal system in your home. See? Geothermal's everywhere. So I also work in conservation, protecting these ecosystems, protecting the jungles. science communication, taking all the cool stuff we're doing in the lab, in the field, bringing it to the everyday world, right? And this could be working with groups from the Explorers Club to National Geographic, Lego, a whole bunch of other groups. Recently, we did a show with PBS Nova last week, right? And the Octonauts, that's one of the things I'm probably most proud of. I am an honorary Octonaut for one of the episodes we got to work on. So lots of cool things there that I'm pretty thrilled about. I've been a host for National Geographic Latin America. We did Misterios Inframundo, Mysteries of the Underworld was the name of the show. Went great. We were looking at our deep past, bringing new perspectives, new technology to amazing sites and seeing what new things we could learn. Working with Lego as a partnership ambassador from the Nat Geo Lego partnership, getting to quite literally work on Lego City Volcano and Lego City Jungle, telling some of these stories, using Lego to tell scientific stories and educational stories was just a lot of fun. So I love what I do, and getting to bring all that into classrooms, I truly think is one of the most important things that we can do, because ultimately you guys are the present and the future. And I think that more than anyone else right now, I'm looking to high schoolers and middle schoolers. I think that you guys have more power than you can possibly realize to make huge impacts now, today. If you want to turn on that magic, I hope you do. So be it bringing these stories into classrooms, putting them in textbooks, or bringing teachers and students into the field. This is a really, really big, important part of what I do and I'm passionate about. Just last year, we had a group. This is a small part of over 100 students that we took into the Amazon, but you don't have to go far and away. One of the things that I've learned in my career as an explorer is that, well, everywhere on Earth has an amazing story. It's just kind of hidden sometimes. You got to look for it. And that's what's so fun about it. It's a massive scavenger hunt everywhere, from the Amazon to Yellowstone, you name it. There's stories everywhere. So ultimately, what I want to do, I want to make you fall in love with our planet. I want you to look at our planet and say, no way. How could it be that all of these things came together, intertwined, boom, create this amazing world that we are truly so lucky to live in? I want us to connect with the natural world, to fall in love with it and want to protect it. And more than anywhere else on the planet, when I think of a celebration of life, I think of the Amazon. In fact, just today, I was in a meeting with my accountant, actually, for some of the nonprofit stuff that we do. And he was asking about, that's weird, walking these two worlds. And the hardest thing for me about coming out of the jungle is that the world feels sterile. There's so much life in the Amazon. Wherever you look, something's slithering, crawling, buzzing, doing something. But I don't see any ants here, right? Where are the bugs? Where are the birds? Where are the little geckos running everywhere? No matter where you look in the Amazon, there is life. And that is just endlessly amazing for me. And what's wild, too, is, it's really easy to look at any of these hosts that Joe brings to Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants and say, oh, wow, yeah, okay, that person's already doing their thing. They found their whatever, right? But that's just the latest chapter in our stories. I hope you guys remember that for most of us, our passions, our interests, our life projects, many times started off when we were kids. And in my case, all of the stuff that I'm doing now really starts with my grandfather. As a boy in Lima, Peru, he would tell me this incredible story about the Spanish conquest of Peru. The Spanish show up. They were going to have a peaceful meeting with the emperor of the Inca, but unfortunately they weren't very nice. They betrayed him, killed his entourage, took him hostage, held him hostage, got the biggest single payout as far as a ransom in all of history. I think it was over $2 billion in today's terms. Betrayed them again, kill him anyway, and there's Atahualpa, unfortunately, murdered. And so start the next 40 years of fighting between the Inca and Spanish empires. Unfortunately for the Inca, they lose. Their armies are defeated. Gold, which was a symbol of life, a symbol of the sun, the sweat, or the tears of the sun, was melted down and used as money. And new waves of wannabe conquistadors were coming into Peru, hungry for gold and glory. They wanted another civilization to conquer. So they go to the conquered Inca and ask them, where can we find another civilization? We want more gold. Sort of gun to your head, knife to your throat, right? Now, the Inca, according to the legends, out of vengeance, tell them, oh, you want gold? Go to the Amazon. You'll find all the gold you want there. In fact, there's an entire city called Paititi, El Dorado in Spanish, made entirely of gold. You're going to love it. So the few Spaniards that go off and return come back with horrifying stories. Inca, who had fled the conquest, whose preferred method of dispatching these guys was making them drink molten gold that they had melted down so hot that obviously that hurts. They met cannibals who would literally have them for dinner. Powerful shamans with spells that drove men mad and poison arrows that killed you in a nick. Giant snakes that could swallow a man whole. Spiders as big as your hand that eat birds. Trees so tall they blotted out the sun. And even a detail of a river that boiled. Now, I logged this away as a kid. Cool story. And I grow up. I start college. I start my PhD. And in helping a Peruvian government initiative to map out all of Peru's hot springs, I remember the story. And I start asking people, no way. There's hot springs in the jungle. Maybe that legendary boiling river, maybe it's true. And I asked people from oil and gas companies, mining companies, geothermal groups, government institutions, universities, everyone I could ask. But they said, no, it doesn't exist. You see, there are boiling rivers in other parts of the world, but all the ones we know about are close to volcanoes, is what they would tell me. And there's no active volcanoes in most of Peru. So I know we got a group from Alaska. If you want to picture how big Peru is about the size of Alaska. It's a big place. All of those red triangles you see here, those are active volcanoes. No active volcanoes in most of Peru. So it makes sense. Especially nothing in the jungle. Yeah, this is probably a legend, is what I thought. But then I tell my aunt this story at a family dinner, and she goes, "No, Andrés, it's real. I've been there." See, she used to do indigenous rights work and had made friends with the wife of this powerful shaman who guarded over the sacred boiling river. Now, she ultimately leads me into the jungle. It was 1 hour by airplane, 2 hours by 4x4 truck like you see there, another hour by motorized canoe. And we call these peque-peques in Peru because, turn the motor on and peque, right? And I'm looking at my GPS thinking, oh no, we're over 700 kilometers, over 430 miles away from the nearest active volcanic center. Yeah, this is going to be exaggerated. That's what I was thinking. And then we get to the mouth of the river. We start hiking for another hour. And just as I had pretty much given up hope, come face to face with this. Now, in front of me was this amazing place. The waters, when I took the temperatures, were about 187 degrees Fahrenheit, 86 degrees C. Water cooks us humans at about 117 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 47 degrees C. That's the ouch temperature. You don't want to put your hand in there, right? Look at how much hotter that is. In fact, I worked at Starbucks in undergrad because undergrad's expensive. And your average cup of coffee? Well, this is way hotter than your average cup of coffee, which is generally in the 130, 140 range degrees Fahrenheit. Now, what's incredible is this place is the largest documented thermal river on the planet. And when you think of a boiling river, the idea is it's impassable. You can't just hop over it. This is big. This is volumes of water. Think Olympic-sized swimming pools of water being pumped out every minute. We're over 430 miles, over 700 kilometers away from the nearest active volcanic center. This thing flows hot for almost 4 miles. Look at that. That's the steam plume. Some of those trees that you see down there are about 100 feet tall. There's waterfalls. This one, I'm the blue dot back there for scale. That's about a 20-foot drop, about a 21-foot, 7-meter drop roughly. And the pool down there, which is at dangerously hot temperatures, is about 30 meters or about 100 feet wide. That's the widest point. The deepest point can get up to almost 15 feet deep, almost 4.5 meters deep. And the hottest temperature I measured, well, you can see it right there for yourself, right? Pretty stinking hot. You do not want to fall in, or you'll end up like our friend the frog over here. And you don't want to fall in. Again, you fall in, muscles cook on the bone. You're trying to swim out, but you're losing power. until, bye-bye. This is what it would look like. That mug is a binary temperature system. You're hearing the river in the background. It's rushing back there. That is no camera tricks. It's thermal pain. The second it turns white hot, that's how hot it would scald you, second or third degree burns, right? Boom. You see how fast that is. That was a fun project we did. So I got to be super careful, especially when I'm on one spot that we lovingly call the Spider-Man wall, because it looks like this. Down beneath me, those waters, ooh, you do not want to fall in. It is not a good place to go. But it's also incredibly clean water. Perfect for instant coffee, tea, or ramen noodles if you're really digging it. So it's unbelievably clean. It's actually cleaner than Evian, which is incredible. You can see my glove there. Some Argentine friends sent me some Argentine mate. So I was sending that picture to them. But it's an indigenous name. Shanai Timpishka. Shanai, heat of the sun. Timpu, boiled, the verb to boil, right? So boiled with the heat of the sun is its name, and you can see why. That name actually comes from an Ashaninka legend. Now, this legend talks about the sun god, Pawa. Pawa comes down to the jungle, and he's walking around, and his enemies, the demons of the night, are waiting in ambush. Now they jump out, stab him in the heart, and spurt of blood falls to earth to create a large thermal river flowing hot in the middle of the jungle, boiled with the heat of the sun. Now, in 2011, I became so lucky that I got to be the first geoscientist granted the shamanic blessing to study this place. And that was unfortunately, he passed recently, but he was a good friend, mentor, all around incredible human being, Maestro Juan Flores. So dedicate this one to you, my friend. And we have come together, and he asked me to help him share this place to the world responsibly, because unfortunately the jungle is under threat, and as he would say, we can no longer conceal to protect. So he gave me that permission, and we have collaborated and worked together ever since, because this is a really special place, not just scientifically, because it is a natural laboratory. It's a really special place, but also from a cultural, spiritual, mythological, legendary perspective, this is a place where legends come to life. You see, this boiling river, one of the legends says, is actually the result of two twins, serpents, that are battling for control of the heat of the river. Now, their mom actually lives far upriver. The river starts off as a cold, small jungle stream. And underneath the protective motherly jaws of the Yakumama, Yaku means water, Mama, mother, a giant serpent spirit, 60 feet long that gives birth to hot and cold water. Well, you see the first hot spring injection right there underneath her protective motherly jaws. Her legends come to life there, right? And that's a naturally carved boulder. This is a place of death, sure, and you do see animals that have been unlucky and boiled alive all the time. But you also see a ton of life. Everywhere you look, it's just an explosion of life. This is a tree that doesn't fit this way or this way in the picture. There's one of our friends for scale. You look up in those trees, you see incredible wildlife. Sometimes they literally fly into breakfast for you. This is a little poison dart frog. That's my finger for scale, but put that in your mouth. Well, that's a dumb thing you'll ever do, right? But sometimes you see really cool adaptations, like this little baby caiman. He's digging the warm waters, right? Perfect temperature. He's enjoying his spa date right there, trying to do a good job of camouflaging. Decent. Almost as good as this young lady. See her? She's a leaf toad. She's staring almost straight at you. She is right here. They have evolved and adapted to live on the jungle floor with leaves and partially molded and eaten leaves with holes in them. So they have a beautiful pattern to mimic a dead leaf, which is truly amazing. Now, they can disappear in visible light, but they also shine blue if you hit them with UV light, which is pretty awesome too. So we got a whole nother system of study that we're working on just with UV lights in the jungle. So much more to talk about there, but I'll keep going. Because last week I was at the mouth of the river and something amazing happened. So that's where you see the heat of the hot water flowing into the cold Pachitea River, right? Now, what's super cool is in this area, we know that the dolphins, Amazonian pink river dolphins, like to live in this cold river. And during the wet season right now, sometimes fish will swim up the boiling river after a heavy rain when the water cools off. But then the rain turns off. The heat comes back up and those fish go into thermal shock or straight up cook and float down the stream. And we've seen dolphins eating those fish at the mouth of the river, but we were never able to get a solid photograph until literally last week. So it's a quick glimpse, but I'm super excited about that because even though that is just a little tiny glimpse into a dolphin, that is that scientific proof that's going to take us to the next step where we're going to get to go in there with cameras and really try to capture this behavior, in a really detailed way. But it's impossible not to fall in love with this jungle. That's a tapir and a really cute one at that. It is just a magical place, but unfortunately it is under threat. Sadly, we are currently losing about half a soccer field of Amazon every single minute in Peru. And it's been that way for most of my life. Unfortunately, that number seems to have increased significantly just in this year. Across the Amazon basin in South America, the average is about 2 soccer fields every single minute, again, for most of my life. And unfortunately, this is a global problem. Tropical regions across the globe, we're losing about 30 soccer fields every minute. And, well, that won't last for too much longer. And that's just in tropical regions. There's also other types of forests. We need to attack this problem head on. In our area, there's the Boiling River area right here, and you can see deforestation spreading year by year. This is more than my lifetime, but still you can see how the area has gone from pretty wild to highly impacted. That's what we're trying to fight against. And there are ways to fight against this. But there's a point where you ask this question, am I here to just document all this destruction or make a difference? And that's where what the shaman said was really important. We can no longer conceal to protect anymore. We have to bring things to light. We have to bring value to these places or we will lose them. So that's why collaboration, ecotourism, finding sustainable products and economies is really important. And heads up, it's not just an Amazon problem because you see this pattern. Jungle, road, development. Or I currently live in Dallas, Texas, where when I fly in, what do you know? Forest, road, development. It's the same pattern. A lot of the same problems that we see in the Amazon, we see in virtually anywhere you want on planet Earth because it's a human and environment issue. How we click together, how we work together, how we show value. So I got some friends whose students, have gotten out to go out to explore your local areas. Well, even then, what have you seen in Alaska that mimics the Boiling River? What have you seen in Massachusetts that might mimic some of the problems that we see in the Boiling River? Being able to connect those dots and show us that, wherever humans and the environment come together, there are challenges that we do need to face and great opportunities that we can take advantage of. So I hope that all of you from here on out walk a path where we can balance both, right? Where we can acknowledge that there are some spectacular places on Earth, that there are hidden stories everywhere waiting to be found. And with that, gracias, queridos. Thank you so much. Easiest way to get a hold of me is Instagram, or if not, LinkedIn. I am at your service. So with that.
Perfect. Andrés, thank you. That was a great presentation as always. I have to get out there with my camera gear and take a ton of pictures and
go
make hot chocolate and do the Spider-Man wall and all that other fun stuff. Have to get out there with you. Very, very cool. And then I think it's worth mentioning, because we have lots of educators tuning in with us right now, is last year we took 4 education fellows to the river for the first time, which was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that program is open right now. So I will share a link with the educators after today's call if they do want to check it out and maybe toss an application in. It's open now to classrooms in Canada, the US, and Mexico. So it's a pretty cool opportunity. And I believe the educators hanging out with us today were with you on the boiling river, and they're all intact. So that's really good. They came back all in one piece. So that's pretty good to celebrate.
Absolutely. No boiled teachers on my watch, I promise.
All right. Well, looking in the chat, I see people saying hi from Calgary, from Boise, Idaho, from Deep River, which I think is here in Ontario. So don't be shy to send us some questions. And let's get some live camera classrooms in here with us as well. Let's start off in Ontario with Mr. Hancock's crew. Let's get them front and center. How are we doing today?
We're great. Thanks so much for the presentation. One of the students wanted to know about it being so dirty, because you said it was clean and drinkable, but a couple of those pictures look really like the water was dirty. Could you talk about that?
Which pictures was the water dirty? I'm curious.
Maybe the video near the end, or was like all these.
Oh, the end. Yeah. So that's where the dirty is sediment. The boiling river's water is, especially straight out of the ground, is unbelievably clean. That's boiling river water in there. And I've got a couple kilos of it in sample bottles in my closet. But so it's, when you think of water, and this is actually has to do with a lot of my research in geochemistry. Geochemistry gives us fingerprints to understand the origin of waters, where it's coming from, what the water story is. And there's two ways to understand those stories. And this has everything to do with how clean or dirty it looks. Sediments, if you have a bunch of water molecules and gunk stuff in between those water molecules, it could be mud, dirt, minerals, microbes, whatever, that might make it look dirty, right? And then there's other clean water like this one, where you look at the H's and the O's that bring together to, get a full story. But what you were looking at there in the dirty water section was the larger Pachitea River, big muddy jungle river pumping out, the chocolatey brown, stuff, mixing in with that olive green boiling river water. So, and also that's 4 miles away from where those hot spring areas are. So hot spring areas are much cleaner. It's the runoff that gets things a lot more dirty. So you are 4 miles away from I wouldn't drink water at the end of the river. I drink it straight out of the geothermal side.
Good place to get a coffee. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Let's go to, we got some fourth graders hanging out with us. Let's get them in here front and center. How we doing, fourth graders?
Hey, Ms. Cherise, fourth grade class.
Hello. Can you wave? We were wondering, some of us wanted to know, how does the volcano heat reach the water?
How does a volcano reach? Okay, so let's talk about what we need if we wanted to put our chef's hat on and cook up a boiling river. What do you need? 4 things. Number 1, let's turn that stove on. We need heat. We need lots of heat to heat up a lot of water, right? That's the second thing we need. We need a lot of water. The Amazon is about 20% of the world's fresh water, right? In the air, on the ground, and the subsurface. We got the water, check. Heat, where's that heat coming from? Sure, that can come from a volcano, but 100 degrees C, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it's not all that hot from Earth's standpoint. If you take the United States and use it as a unit of measurement and flip it on its side 1.5 times, you basically get to the core of the Earth, where temperatures are similar to those of the heat of the sun. Temperature of the sun down there, deep down there, roughly, right? That's pretty darn hot. So for boiling temperatures, you don't have to go, it's a couple miles, a couple kilometers, but from Earth's standpoint, it's not all that deep. So you don't need a volcano to create a boiling river. It is much easier to do that, but then you also need 2 other things, right? For example, I've worked in Iceland. You need 4 things. You need the heat, you need the water, you need the right plumbing system to take that hot water from deep in the earth up to the surface, and then you can't have anything cool it down. For example, right behind Joe's head, there's a little country called Iceland, right? You can see it up there. There it goes, way up there. I've gotten to work a lot in Iceland. Love that place. There are spots where they would probably have had a big, bad boiling river, but that water's coming up under the very cold Arctic Ocean. So you're going to get a lukewarm spot in the ocean, right? Because the volume of water in the ocean is just way too much. So that plumbing system is going to get overpowered. So in the case of the Amazon, if the boiling river were underneath the main Amazon, the biggest river in the world that you'd need the next few biggest rivers in the world combined to even match, you probably wouldn't even register it. But we're up slightly higher than everything else. So it's its own river valley. So that's why you don't need the volcano. Earth has cracks and faults. Water can seep into the earth, flow in aquifers, right, underground in cracks and faults. And very similar, oh man, my thermal camera's in there. If we have time, I'll bring out my thermal camera and show this to you guys. But if you look at your arms, you've got blood veins in your arms, yes? Or maybe you're an alien or a robot and don't have any, right? But you've got hot blood running through your veins, running through your arteries. Earth has hot water running through its veins and arteries. In fact, actually, fun fact, this is from a geothermal well that was drilled into the earth. This is like a donut of a long tube. And those minerals there were deposited by a geothermal system, sort of like Earth's cholesterol, right? If you can see that, a part of a geothermal well. So when you think about gold, silver, a lot of the precious metals, they actually, or even these guys, right? You notice how there's like bands? Those bands ultimately were mineral deposits that closed up a vein, an artery. That's an easy way to think about it. So in the case of, again, these boiling river systems, Earth's arteries, Earth's veins, right? Equivalent, metaphor, right? Coming up to the surface. Hot water from deep in the earth, up to the surface, and boom. You get it?
Right. Perfect. We'll come back your way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll check in with you again. There might be time for another question, I promise. Okay. Fourth graders with Miss Kupfel.
Come on, Nicole.
Hey, fourth graders.
What's up, Miss Kupfel's class?
Hey. Go ahead.
They said no.
What animal?
Go nice and close.
What animal had you never seen at the boiling river, but you want to see it?
Oh, good question. In fact, I have something really special right here. It's a model of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this crazy story. Again, I worked with a lot of, do you guys know what a shaman is? It's like a witch doctor, a leader, a priest,
Healer.
or healer. It could be a shamaness too. Doesn't matter, right? Some are really young, some are really old. And the elder shaman at the Boiling River told me a story once about how back in the day, when there were a lot more sorcerers. So sorcerers will do bad things to people, unalive them. We'll put it that way, right? And healers or curanderos, shamans, do the opposite. Now, toads with yellow eyes are the friends of healers, is what they told me. And they come and they whisper the secrets of traditional medicine to those healers and they learn to heal. But associated with the sorcerers, there were special toads with red eyes. Now, the red-eyed toad is something that the old shaman said used to be in the Boiling River area. They're not frogs. We've made this very clear. Toads have dry, bumpy skin, tend to be brown. This is what it was described to me like. And not frogs, toads. Difference, right? Frogs tend to have moist skin, right? Now, supposedly in the Boiling River area, there are red-eyed toads. And I actually questioned if this was real or not until one year I leave the Boiling River area. I open up my phone and the first ping that I get, in the Colombian Amazon, they have discovered the ruby-eyed toad that looked exactly like the toad that the elder shamans described to me. So somewhere in the Boiling River area, I'm convinced there has to be sorcerer toads out there, and we need to find them.
All right, very cool. Fourth grade explorers, do you want to pop in another one?
Of course we do. Logan, come on up. We'll find that sorcerer toad one day, Andrés.
Yes, we will.
My name is Logan, and is the Boiling River the hottest thing you've ever seen?
Is the Boiling River the hottest thing I've ever seen? Metaphorically, yes. But empirically, in the sense of, so physically, scientifically, no. I've seen things that are way hotter. Lava that's thousands of degrees, even special plasma that's thousands and thousands of degrees. Your campfire is going to be hotter than the boiling river, right? But still, for water, 100 degrees C, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, boiling temperatures are a pretty big deal, especially at the surface, especially when you get, something as big as a 2-lane road. Logan, right? So next time you go stand at the road, you have to promise me you're going to do this. I want you to stand at the road, look both ways, and now imagine that 2-lane road, maybe up to 10 feet deep, and going on for 4 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to imagine that full of hot water, hot enough to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of heat, right? Now, whenever you or your mom make hot chocolate, tea, coffee, whatever, think how long it takes to boil just that little pot of water. How much energy is going in to make this massive river that hot? That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Very cool. Thanks, fourth grade explorers.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go now to Minnesota. Mrs. O's class is hanging out with us. Mrs. O's class, if you want to unmute your mic, we'll grab a question or two.
No way. I'll be in Minnesota tomorrow.
Cool.
Where are you, Miss O?
In Rochester.
Oh, very cool. I'll be in St. Paul.
Awesome. So my class is actually gone right now. They just went to specials, but I said I would ask the question and share it with them. One of our students wondered, what do you think will be the impact of technology on geothermal systems and the Amazon other than climate change?
So technology right now, that is a very, very good question. So I just came back from a geothermal conference, and one of the things that is a major issue is AI, right? Artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of conversations to be had about that, but I'm talking about the amount of energy that AI needs every single day, with more energy hungry apps, with systems, methods that need a lot of energy, right? How do you get that energy? You need base load energy, which means if you ever want to figure out if someone actually knows what they're talking about when they're talking about energy resources, and as in lights on producing electricity, listen for the word base load or intermittent. Intermittent comes and goes. Base load is always on unless you turn the plant off to fix it up. But we need as many base load power sources that are clean, renewable, sustainable as humanly possible. Geothermal presents an excellent option because where you can create geothermal electricity power, right? It is a fantastic solution. So as far as technology goes, there's about 1 million ways to answer that question. AI for better computing and all that good stuff. Yes. But I think one of the more interesting takes on it is all of that stuff doesn't come free. It needs a lot of energy to be powered. Geothermal presents an excellent opportunity. And it's not just the powering, it's keeping it cool. Those systems can overheat. So you need, in this case, geothermal heating and cooling, passive geothermal, a totally different side of the geothermal industry, could present an excellent way to help those systems run more efficiently. So there's a massive can of worms there. I would absolutely love to go in deeper. But do you want to follow up? And then which direction do you want me to go in? I'm at your service.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
perfect. Sue, why aren't I there? There we go. We still have a couple more classes to visit, and I want to get some questions from YouTube, so we're gotta get going. We've got, actually, let's go to this crew here. So this crew, where are they joining us from? They are in Alberta. How are we doing, Alberta?
You're in Alberta? I was just in Alberta. I was in Calgary.
All right, let's get the mic unmuted. Let's grab a question. Okay, I think for whatever reason, even though you're unmuted, your microphone's not cooperating right now. So do you want to send a question or two into the private chat? And I'll grab the questions from the private chat. But I'll bring you up on screen so we can see you while that's happening. While we wait for that, we're going to Alaska. We're going to see some 7th graders.
Woo!
Hey, Andrés.
Hey, man. Nice sweatshirt.
So Audrey has a question for you here.
Okay. Here we go. So I was. Thank you. I was wondering, when you were searching for the boiling river, a lot of people told you that it was not possible or it wasn't real. So what advice would you give younger kids or other new scientists that are looking for things that may seem impossible, like the boiling river?
You know, the world is weirder than we can ever possibly imagine. You know, bumblebees supposedly can't fly because they're aerodynamically not sound. It took about 2 years of me asking that question of could the boiling river exist? Some people were really fair about it and said, we don't know. Others said, absolutely not. You know, there are weird things out there. Keep asking those questions, follow the evidence. And I think that not having data is not an excuse. Some people, in the absence of data, with no data, they'll just assume. Don't assume. Get the data, question, and then you'll be able to ask better questions. Yeah. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right. Why don't you guys go ahead with another one? I'm sure there's another question there in Alaska.
All right, Hannah, you're up.
I was wondering how the boiling river affects the surrounding ecosystem. Like, what animals and stuff does it affect, and like plants and things?
Yeah, well, animals that fall in die. Plants that fall in also die. Microbes, special ones, don't die. Those are extremophiles that, you know, can live at temperatures that could kill you and I. What's really extra wild about the boiling river area, and there's a group out of the University of Miami, spearheaded by Dr. Ken Thiele, who's an amazing guy, and he's got a great team. They've been looking at the ecology, the ecosystem around the boiling river, and the boiling river's valley appears to be the hottest documented niche environment, right, of all of Amazonia. The entire Amazon, the hottest naturally occurring piece of Amazonia is the boiling river valley. It can be over 10 degrees hotter than background Amazonia. Now, that's really important because that system seems to have been there for a long time, long enough to let plants, certain animals, adapt to those high heat conditions. So looking at climate change that we know is happening, we see it, right? Other parts of the Amazon are getting hotter. Ours, the boiling river area, is already hot. So we're hoping to learn something about the way the plants have adapted, the way they're interacting. Because here's a big thing. There's a great saying from in the traditional knowledge systems in the Amazon. If you want to kill a big tree, chop down all of the trees around it. Because when we see trees, we often forget the roots, the root systems. Trees don't have deep roots relative to their size. Many of these big trees have widespread roots that interlace with each other, forming this net, this web of life that have ecosystems, entire ecosystems underground in the near subsurface, right? Now, by studying that weird web of life in the just right underground, we might be able to help protect and better prepare, in the best case scenario, other parts of the Amazon for a hotter world. And hopefully we'll help it rebound. And yeah.
All right. Great question, 7th graders. So I have a couple in the chat here from our crew in Alberta. The first one they want to know is the temperature of the river. Would it be comparable to a geyser or a hot spring?
So there's another question that I will get to. I can't say no to that one.
Okay.
Good eyes, by the way. That is absolutely a gum fruit. No, I did not make it. Yes, I am a big fan. We'll put it that way. There's actually hot springs in One Piece too. We can talk. I have an entire lesson plan based on that. But anyway, back to the temperatures. Fun question. Right now, I'm working on mapping out all of the hot springs in the world. And there's some debate as to what makes a hot spring or not. For example, the boiling river, ouch, that burns. However, what if you go to the middle of nowhere in Mongolia and everything around you is frozen, but there's a little spring that never freezes? You can stick your hand in it. It doesn't burn you. It just never freezes. Would you consider that a hot spring or not? Right? So you have to look at the mean annual temperature. What's the typical temperature in your area? And compare that to how much hotter it is. For me personally, I get excited when things get above, enough to be warm, 35 degrees C. Geysers can work in a different way. It's really more about pressure. Oftentimes, generally speaking, they can be hot, but I have also seen cold geysers. The idea is pressure builds up. There's a heavy mud layer and it explodes or erupts. Then it comes back down, builds up. You can have that. Most of them that I've seen are hot. Every now and then you can have some cooler ones that you can actually poke. But yeah, the boiling river, my PhD advisor finally got to come down with me, and he was like, "So Andrés, ultimately this is just a giant hot spring." He's not wrong. The boiling river is in a way a giant hot spring. Many giant hot springs to form an almighty hot spring. But yes.
All right. Well, I've got a great question to wrap up on here on YouTube from Sophia. And Sophia wants to know, what's your favorite part of your job?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Exploring new places. There's really so much magic hidden everywhere. I'm so lucky. I get to travel almost once a week, once every 2 weeks at least. And it's not enough. The world's amazing. There's all these incredible stories, amazing animals, beautiful places that we often forget about because we get stuck in this everyday cycle. The world is amazing. Get out and explore it. Get out and travel. In Iceland, the Vikings had this saying, they had it on the Viking Museum, right? It was, your education isn't over until you have traveled. There's another really great Latin American writer who talks about travel being one of the best tools against ignorance and different kinds of really negative ignorances that humans like to show. Travel, go out, explore your world. That is the best part of it. Sometimes even locally. For example, the other day, I live in Dallas. That's where my university is. My hope to graduate finally in 2026. We'll all throw a party at Joe's house. Woo, But the other day I went out and I found this shark's tooth. That's 100 million year old shark tooth. And that couple miles away from my house, there's a lot out there. There's all of these stories, and some of the best stories are where people take someplace for granted. So for me, getting to connect with that, connecting with something bigger, realizing that in a million different ways, just how much bigger the world is than I can possibly imagine. I mean, right now, think about it. Could you count to 8.2 billion in a lifetime? That's how many people there are on the planet. Every single person has a life just like yours. They're living their own thing, experiencing their own things. Everyone probably knows some secret thing that only you or they know about. Imagine being able to experience all that. I think that that's awesome.
Absolutely. Pretty wild. We do live on a pretty amazing planet. Just yesterday, we were talking to Jeremy Henson. He's a Canadian astronaut. He is on the Artemis 2 mission. In a month or two, he is going to go further from the Earth than any human ever has before. So he's going to get that incredible view of our planet from the moon as they make a loop around the moon and then return back to Earth. No borders, thin atmosphere, one finite space, but it is a pretty amazing place to explore. There's no other place like it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Andrés, we are at that time where we need to say goodbye to our classrooms. A few have had to duck off, but I still have a few backstage with me. A huge shout out to the classrooms. As always, amazing questions. Let me bring a few of them in here in case they want to get loud for a big goodbye and thank you. Andrés, it was so great to have you with us again today, hanging out and sharing the boiling river with us, taking people there, sharing it with students and teachers, and really anyone who gets excited about our planet. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I genuinely hope that all of you guys get to come visit one day, and we'll get you down there, Joe, sooner or later.
Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Hope to see you in some more events throughout December, but for now, we're going to say goodbye. We'll sign off. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.